I grew up as childhood sweethearts with Alex Carter. We've now been married for 5 years. That evening, I hugged Alex tightly from behind, rubbing my cheek against the back of his neck. It's our wedding anniversary. You promised to go with me to Seaview City to see the ocean. Alex kissed my cheek lightly and said in a soft voice, "All right." Before boarding the plane, Alex seemed oddly distracted. He suddenly asked me, "Can we not go?" "What?" I was busy looking up travel guides and didn't hear him clearly. Alex lowered his gaze and gently brushed his thumb across my cheek. "It's nothing," he murmured. After the flight, we arrived in Seaview City. The ocean breeze was cool and pleasant, but Alex's face looked pale. He claimed to be feeling airsick and returned to the hotel. I was worried, so I decided to check on him. When I opened the door, I found him pacing back and forth, holding his phone. His usually calm and composed face was now tense, showing rare signs of anxiety and restlessness. Unfortunately, it seemed no one was answering his calls. "What's wrong?" I asked with concern. Alex startled, quickly putting down his phone and forcing a smile. "It's nothing," he said. "I just can't get through to the HR manager at work." Alex was a dedicated workaholic and hadn't taken a vacation in years. Once, I asked him why he worked so hard. He flicked my nose with a doting smile and said, "To take care of you, my little princess." I walked over, leaned my head lightly against his chest, and said, "Don't overwork yourself." He held me close and smiled. "All right," he said. I didn't notice the slight hoarseness in his voice. Later, I insisted Alex join me to try the city's famous barbecue. When the sizzling platter arrived, the aroma was mouthwatering. I started eating enthusiastically, but Alex kept glancing at his phone. Annoyed, I grabbed it and put it in his jacket pocket. He chuckled helplessly, a mix of amusement and resignation. In the restaurant, there was a TV playing the latest news. The somber anchor reported, "This morning at 9 a.m., actress Lila Taylor was found dead in her home. The cause of death was severe depression, leading to an overdose of sleeping pills. Foul play has been ruled out." Before her death, Taylor left a note saying, "If only I could be your wife in the next life." The anchor continued, "Lila Taylor was known for dedicating her life to her career. She never married or had children. To hear of her passing due to love-related despair is both tragic and poignant." That moment, Alex's chopstick slipped from his hand, falling heavily onto the wooden floor. I turned to look at him and saw that his face had gone deathly pale. His dark eyes trembled violently, and his lips, bloodless and trembling, failed to produce a sound. I had never seen Alex, who was always so calm and collected, in such a state. After a long while, Alex finally regained his composure. He pressed his lips together and said in an even voice, "It's nothing, just a bit of dizziness." For the rest of the trip, Alex seemed normal. He even went with me on a boat ride and walked through the lavender fields. I was so immersed in happiness that I didn't notice the repressed despair hidden in his eyes. Late at night, while I was sleeping, I heard an unusual sound of running water. Startled, I got up and pushed open the bathroom door, only to be struck dumb by what I saw. Alex was lying face up in the bathtub, the water stained red with blood, crying. I rushed to pull him out. Alex was barely breathing. In a faint, almost inaudible voice, he said words that thundered in my ears. "Lila, I love you." Those words echoed endlessly in my mind. Even as the paramedics arrived and hurriedly lifted Alex onto a stretcher, I stood frozen, unable to process what was happening, as his words reverberated relentlessly in my head. I sat outside the emergency room all night like a lifeless shell, waiting in agony. When the light above the operating room finally turned off, the doctor emerged, removed his mask, and said to me with regret, "I'm sorry. We did everything we could." My legs gave out. I stumbled back a few steps and collapsed onto the floor. The grief in my heart was overwhelming. But what consumed me even more was a sense of utter disbelief and emptiness. Before I followed the ambulance to the hospital, I had seen a letter fluttering to the ground near Alex Carter, carried by the wind. On the translucent paper, his handwriting, bold and forceful, spelled out 5 simple words that shattered my heart. "I'm coming to find you." Those words broke something deep inside me. and tears of disbelief poured uncontrollably from my eyes. Back in high school, Lila Taylor was Alex Carter's first love. Yet, in all these years together, she had never once appeared in our lives. While waiting for the surgery to finish, I pulled out Alex's phone, which had always been tucked away in my coat pocket. I had never once checked it before. My hands trembled so violently that I could barely hold the device steady. When I finally unlocked it, I discovered that the calls he claimed to be making to his company's HR manager were actually to an unfamiliar out-of-town number saved under the name Little Darling. Seeing that nickname made my heart sink. Just 10 minutes before our flight, Little Darling had sent Alex a final message. "I'm so tired. I still can't handle you being with someone else. I wish you and your wife a lifetime of happiness. Let's meet again in the next life." The very next moment, Alex had frantically replied, "What's wrong? Don't scare me. Lila." I surrender. "Okay, I'll divorce her." But Lila had never responded. Alex's words, "I'll divorce her," tore through me, leaving a searing pain that coursed through my entire body. I thought back to his restless behavior on the plane. He wore headphones, supposedly listening to music. Yet his brow remained tightly furrowed, his whole demeanor uneasy. His call logs were filled with unanswered calls, pages of read missed call notifications. The normally composed and distant Alex had called over and over, desperate and unrelenting. Alex had always been so rational and steady, never once losing control in front of me. But now, he was gone to be with his little darling. Leaving me behind, I returned home from Seaview City, unable to recover for days. After graduation, I had no contact with Lila Taylor and had no idea Alex harbored such deep feelings for her. It was as if the years I spent with Alex had been a lie. I realized I had never truly known him at all. The fallout didn't end there. News of Alex's suicide quickly spread. The timing was too coincidental, and some people dug into their past, discovering that both Alex Carter and Lila Taylor had been classmates in the same year and homeroom at Northwood High School. Rumors about their teenage romance began surfacing, and soon their story went viral on video sharing platforms. In the videos, there were glimpses of their younger selves in school uniforms, laughing, teasing, full of youthful charm. Yet, for reasons unknown to the world, they had gone their separate ways, never confessing their unspoken love. Over the years, they shone brightly in their respective fields, yet they were never again able to embrace one another. The video showed Alex, dressed in a sharp suit, attending corporate events, his eyes never leaving Lila, who was invited on stage in a stunning red gown. His gaze was filled with longing and unspoken pain. Alex's private social media account revealed even more. Every year at midnight on Lila's birthday, he posted, "Happy birthday, Lila," with pictures of her favorite bunny-themed items. His words were tender, cautious, and filled with devotion. Even the cheap wristwatch Alex carried with him at all times, never letting anyone else touch it, was a gift from Lila years ago. The world was captivated by their tragic love story. A radiant actress and a reserved, dignified executive, both bound by love yet unable to be together. People called them a modern-day Romeo and Juliet, bound by regret and tragedy. In the end, their story concluded in shared sacrifice. Meanwhile, the legal wife left behind, was reduced to nothing more than a female version of a bitter and powerless Marquis Ma. I laughed and cried like a madwoman. Alex Carter and I had been childhood sweethearts for 20 years. Even when his family fell from grace, I found every excuse to help him, always careful not to hurt his pride. After graduating from college, I stood by his side as we built a life from nothing. We lived in tiny rented apartments, surviving on instant noodles. During freezing winters, we clung to each other under icy blankets for warmth. He used to kiss me and talk about all the dreams he wanted us to achieve together. But none of that, none of my time or youth spent with him, could compare to the fleeting high school romance he shared with Lila Taylor. Did I mean nothing to him? As if the betrayal wasn't enough, my private information was leaked. On my way to collect Alex's ashes, I was ambushed by a group of deranged fans. The leader, her face twisted with rage, threw acid at me and screamed, "You homewrecker who ruined Lila and Alex's love. Go die." The excruciating pain was unbearable. I stumbled back, dazed, and when I looked up, I found myself surrounded by my high school classmates. My homeroom teacher's stern voice boomed. Jillian, not only are you sleeping in my class, but now you're talking in your sleep. Just because your family has money doesn't mean you can do whatever you please. The haze in my head cleared, and my vision slowly focused. I saw my furious high school teacher glaring at me, and beside me, sitting upright in his school uniform, was Alex Carter. He stared straight ahead at the blackboard, his posture impeccable. He wore black-framed glasses, his messy hair falling over his forehead, exuding the innocent charm of youth. I overheard whispers from nearby classmates. The rich girl Jillian is clinging to Alex again, asking him to tutor her. Too bad she's hopeless, just sleeping her way through class. Alex must be sick of her. Imagine being the top student in school and getting stuck with someone like her. The teacher snapped. Jillian, answer this problem on the board. What's the solution? If you don't know, go stand outside. I looked at the jumble of mathematical symbols on the board, completely lost. A low voice whispered to me, 1/3. It was Alex. But I didn't use the answer he gave me. Instead, I said, I don't know, teacher. Without waiting for a response, I picked up my books and left the classroom. I caught a glimpse of Alex's bewildered expression. It wasn't hard to guess why. He had given me the answer, but I had refused to use it. In my previous life, I had been playful and lazy, falling to the bottom of the class after entering the advanced program. I ended up attending a second-rate college near Alex's prestigious university, and I leaned heavily on our childhood friendship. Whenever I couldn't answer a question in class, Alex would quietly help me. When his family went bankrupt, I pretended to pay him high tutoring fees, using it as an excuse to help him financially. My blatant favoritism made me the target of mockery. People laughed behind my back, calling me Alex's lapdog. Years later, after building a business with Alex, I transformed from a pampered rich girl into someone who could endure rejection, humiliation, and setbacks without giving up. Yet now, as I looked at the youthful Alex before me, his face still innocent but full of determination, waves of complex emotions surged within me. Resentment began to brew. This time, I vowed not to repeat the same mistakes. After class, I stood outside for an entire period, my legs aching, leaning against the wall. I tapped my heels against the floor. Then, Alex approached, holding a workbook in his hand. His voice was soft. Tired? I've explained this problem several times. This time, I wrote out all the steps for you. He smiled faintly as he handed me the open workbook. His neat handwriting was marked in red ink, clear and precise. But as I looked at those words, I couldn't help but think of another night, bitterly cold, when Alex scrawled 5 wild and passionate words on a piece of paper. I'm coming to find you. 2 years before, Alex's family had gone bankrupt overnight. His father fled, and his mother sank into depression. He became the target of ridicule, labeled a once proud but now broken fallen noble. Many people bullied him, but I always stood in front of him, like a proud mother hen protecting her chick. In the end, I became the one everyone mocked. In my previous life, after Alex's death, I found a journal on his phone. One entry stood out. Lila Taylor is the ray of light in my otherwise hopeless life. And as for Jillian Grant, she was just someone who humiliated me with her money when I was at my lowest. I didn't take the workbook from him. With a tone of cold indifference, I said, Alex, you don't need to tutor me after school anymore. And I won't insult your fragile pride with tutoring fees either. Hearing my words, Alex's hand holding the workbook stiffened momentarily, but his expression quickly returned to calm. He smiled softly, his voice gentle. Don't be ridiculous. It's senior year. If I don't help you, who will? Or is this because I told someone yesterday that I think of you like a little sister? Are you upset about that? Yes, Alex Carter, at 18, had always been aware of my feelings for him. But just yesterday, at the corner of the staircase, he had casually told someone, Jillian, I just think of her as the cutest little sister. He reached out, intending to pat my head as if to soothe me. His sharp features softened with a hint of affection. But to me, it was nauseatingly fake. I slapped his hand away and said coldly, Don't touch me. The back of his pale hand turned red from my strike. Alex's face stiffened. Just then, a commotion erupted in the hallway. The previously rowdy students suddenly surged toward the office, shouting excitedly, "A new girl transferred to our class. And she's stunning." I glanced at the date. It was indeed this day. Outside the office, a crowd of students craned their necks, trying to catch a glimpse of her. All eyes were fixed on Lila Taylor, who stood inside the office. Exclamations of amazement filled the air. Her beauty was undeniable. She had a slender figure, an oval face, large clear eyes, and soft, slightly wavy hair cascading over her shoulders. Everything about her inspired a strong desire to protect her. In my previous life, it was this delicate and enchanting appearance that helped her break into the entertainment industry, where she became a sought-after star. It was also during this summer that she captured Alex Carter's heart. "Lila and Jillian look kind of alike. Who do you think is prettier?" someone whispered. "Of course it's Lila," another replied. "She won a modeling competition and took first place. She's got the looks and the brains. Jillian's just a pretty face with no substance." As their chatter grew louder, Lila's self-assured smile became more pronounced. But then, a quiet voice from beside me broke the noise. "I think Jillian is prettier." Startled, I turned to see Alex, his calm tone carrying conviction. His words drew astonished stares from everyone, including Lila, who had clearly heard him. Lila's expression shifted from pride to bitterness. She cast me a resentful glance. Her eyes filled with scrutiny and disdain. But when her gaze landed on Alex, standing tall and composed among the crowd, her eyes lit up with keen interest. Biting her lower lip, she said coyly, "It seems this classmate doesn't like me very much." Alex, hands in his pockets, replied nonchalantly, "I just think my childhood friend is the best." I looked into his eyes, and for a moment, I thought I saw my reflection in them, but it was just an illusion. With a sweet smile, I turned to Lila and said, "He's lying. You're exactly his type. He likes you so much he could die for you, throw everything away just to be with you." Leaving Alex behind, I turned and walked off, ignoring the stunned faces of everyone present. In the days that followed, I refused Alex's repeated attempts to tutor me. Meanwhile, Lila made her intentions clear on her very first day, boldly confessing to Alex in front of everyone, "Alex, I like you." It was love at first sight. She then sent me a message identical to the one she'd sent in my previous life. "I know I just got here, but I won't hold back." This time, I simply replied, "Do as you please." In my previous life, 18-year-old Jillian Grant had been arrogant. Back then, I declared, "Alex is mine. You'll never take him away." I had said it with so much confidence, only to cry my heart out in the stairwell when Lila finally won him over. The atmosphere in class grew tense, with glances and whispers constantly darting between the three of us. But I paid no attention. Instead of sleeping through class, I focused intently, even taking extra tutoring sessions on weekends to catch up on what I'd missed. As my attitude changed, the speculation about my motives, claims that I was playing hard to get, gradually faded. After class, I would pack my bag and head straight to the library, deliberately avoiding Alex whenever I saw him. But Alex couldn't hold back for long. One day, he grabbed my arm, blocking my path. His expression was hurt. "What did I do wrong? Why are you avoiding me?" His youthful confusion mirrored the same bewilderment he'd shown in our marriage whenever we fought. Clueless as to why I was upset, yet behind both versions of Alex was the same soul. Someone who didn't truly love me but pretended to. I slowly withdrew my hand from Alex Carter's grip. My silence seemed to take on a different meaning in his eyes. He sighed and spoke. "Is it something the transfer student said? Did it upset you? You're not a child anymore. Don't push me away because of someone else's words." "Okay." Before Alex could finish, Lila Taylor came running over from afar, a light sheen of sweat on her nose. Her eyes sparkled as she looked at Alex. "Alex, you came to the library? Why didn't you tell me? Did you try the cookies I made? They're your favorite. Cranberry flavor. Were they good?" She rattled on with a bubbly, unrestrained affection. Alex frowned slightly and gave her a brief glance, his tone cold and indifferent. "No, I threw them out." Lila's face fell, but she quickly recovered. her expression once again bright and optimistic. "That's okay," she said with forced cheerfulness. "It must have been because they didn't look good. I'll try harder next time." Her eyes sparkled with devotion, as though Alex was her entire world. For a moment, Alex froze. Then, he turned his head slightly, as if uncomfortable. I noticed a faint redness creeping up the back of his ears. Watching Lila now, I realized just how much she resembled my younger self, passionate and willing to give without limits. Lowering my gaze, I said, "You two carry on. I'm leaving." Alex instinctively started to follow me, but Lila grabbed his arm, pouting. "Alex, I'm stuck on a problem. Can you help me?" Later, the classroom seating was rearranged, and Lila used the opportunity to request to sit next to Alex. The teacher asked for my input, and I agreed without hesitation. Several girls approached me afterward, calling me foolish for handing Lila the chance to take my place. I kept doodling with my pen. Indifferent. To me, it didn't matter. If someone could be taken away so easily, they were never truly mine to begin with. Alex, seated in front of me, stiffened at my words. For the rest of the day, his mood remained somber. Meanwhile, Lila spent the entire class chatting and clinging to him. When the bell rang, she moved closer to ask another question. Already in a foul mood, Alex snapped, slamming his pen onto the desk. "Aren't you supposed to be a good student? Why are you asking me something so basic?" Lila bit her lip, embarrassed. "But I'm not the first person to ask you questions like this," she said, glancing in my direction with a pointed look. I raised my eyebrows and held up my marked-up test paper, smirking. Lila wasn't about to back down. She pouted and said, "Of course Jillian doesn't need your help. She's a spoiled rich kid with private tutors. Unlike me, she doesn't rely on Alex Carter." Alex's face darkened even further, his frustration palpable. Without another word, he stood and walked away. "Don't bother me again," he said icily. Lila hadn't expected such a response and tears welled up in her eyes. She stomped her foot in frustration and ran off. Alex sat back down, his expression gloomy as he furiously scribbled on his worksheet. The sound of pen against paper harsh in the quiet classroom. It was a hot summer afternoon, and the classroom was nearly empty during the break. The ceiling fan above Alex whirred noisily, blowing strands of his hair across his forehead. For a long time, he focused on his work, not speaking. Finally, I broke the silence. Startled, Alex looked up, his eyes lighting up like those of a stray dog suddenly taken in after being abandoned. I smiled faintly, my tone carrying an edge of irony. "Let me tell you a little secret. Lila, she's your future wife. You should be nicer to her. You'll regret it otherwise." I rarely saw Alex Carter this angry. He looked like a wild beast on the verge of losing control, his fury barely contained. He stood up abruptly, crumpling the worksheet in his hand into a tight ball. "You don't need to push me toward someone else. I'm not a toy you can just give away." In my previous life, he had gotten this angry before. Once, after we got married, I lashed out at him in frustration and said, "If you can't stand me, let's just get divorced." Alex had reacted the same way back then, his usually handsome features twisted with a mix of anger, disbelief, and profound vulnerability. He held me tightly, his tall and broad figure trembling against me as he pleaded, "Don't say things like that. Don't leave me, Jillian." His voice, at 28, had been broken and fragile, just like the 16-year-old version of him who had run to me in the middle of the night after his family went bankrupt. He'd been so helpless, so terrified. He played his role so well that even after his death in my previous life, when all the evidence was laid out before me, I still refused to believe that, throughout our years together, his heart had always belonged to Lila Taylor. After that day, Alex and I stopped talking completely. I relished the peace and quiet. Meanwhile, provoking me became one of Lila's favorite pastimes. She started sending me countless photos of her and Alex together, his long, fair hand covering her petite wrist as they sat side by side, their closeness unmistakable. Alex creating detailed study notes for her, far more meticulous than the ones he had ever made for me. Alex taking her to watch the sunrise, his exhausted face resting on her shoulder. the sunlight highlighting his profile in a way that made him look almost otherworldly. It was as if she were copying, frame by frame, everything Alex and I had once done together in my previous life. Lila had sent me these photos before, and back then, I was furious. I had stormed over to her and slapped her twice across the face, an act that only made Alex think I was irrational and petty, deliberately targeting Lila without reason. After graduating college, I had given up my luxurious villa to live in a rundown rental apartment with Alex. He focused on his tech work, while I exhausted myself seeking investments. Time after time, I faced rejection, returning home utterly drained, only to find solace in our shared warmth. I would play with Alex's fingers and say, "When you make it big, let's travel the world. We'll go skiing in Switzerland, feed pigeons in Italy." He would pinch my nose and promise, "When that day comes, I'll drop everything and go with you." But as his company grew and thrived, Alex sold his shares at its peak, invested in a more promising venture, and became CTO of a prestigious firm. Those promises he once made were never brought up again. Now, looking at the photos Lila had sent me, I felt nothing. I calmly compiled them into a collage and posted them on social media with a simple caption. Copy-paste. 99% accurate. I didn't hide the post from anyone. It was public for all to see. Before long, my comments section was flooded with uniform question marks. Much later, Alex responded with a single word, "Okay." From that moment on, everyone believed Alex and I had completely fallen out. My world finally grew quiet. Even our homeroom teacher noticed the change. She pulled me into her office, showering me with praise. "You've made so much progress. You're finally not focused entirely on Alex anymore. I'm sure you'll get great scores on the college entrance exams." Her enthusiasm was so over the top that I could practically feel her spitting in my face. Meanwhile, Alex began opening up to Lila, piece by piece. During an unoccupied gym class, the students were playing games when Lila accidentally got knocked to the ground. Letting out a startled cry, Alex immediately rushed over. His eyes filled with worry as he pulled her up roughly. "Are you an idiot? How can you be so careless?" he scolded, his tone harsh but laced with concern. She fell asleep at her desk, resting her head on her arms. Alex Carter turned slightly, adjusting his open textbook to shield her from the sunlight streaming in through the blinds. The golden light created soft patterns across the classroom, touching the sleeping girl and his quietly responsible actions. Eventually, Alex and Lila Taylor officially got together. The classmates' gossiping glances occasionally drifted toward me, but I didn't care. I was focused on preparing for the finals. My grades had improved remarkably, not just because I had refocused, but because years of hardship in the adult world had hardened me. Our homeroom teacher excitedly announced in front of the class that I had ranked in the top 3 for the entire grade, while Alex, immersed in his world with Lila, seemed startled and turned to glance at me. That was when he noticed my once waist-length hair had been cut into a shoulder-length style, and that the colorful beaded bracelet he had given me for my 15th birthday was gone. After school, Alex hesitated for a moment. Uncharacteristically, he didn't leave with Lila but instead called out to me. "Jillian, where's your bracelet?" he asked, pointing at my wrist. My wrist was bare. That bracelet, which Alex had given me and which I had worn for 13 years, was something I had discarded on the first day of my rebirth, tossing it into the trash without hesitation. "It's gone," I said simply. Alex took a deep breath and seemed to quickly accept the fact. "I'm with Lila now," he said, as if explaining himself. "I know you don't like her, but try to get along. She'll be your sister-in-law in the future." I smiled bitterly. I had chased Alex for 5 long years before finally achieving what I thought was happiness. But Lila hadn't needed to do anything. Alex had already given her a firm place in his future. He didn't notice my expression and continued. "I know you're upset and that you've been avoiding me because I called you my little sister. But..." He took another deep breath, his tone faltering. "Feelings can't be forced. From now on, we're family." Alex was trying to offer me an olive branch, to smooth things over. "Let's stop this Cold War. Okay? It's been so long since we've sat down and had a proper meal together." I murmured in response, not committing to anything. The college entrance exams were just around the corner, and the mounting pressure was driving me to the edge. I was so stressed I felt like I might pull out all my hair. To help us relax, our homeroom teacher organized a picnic on a nearby mountain as our last group activity before the exams. Coincidentally, I ended up in the same group as Lila. As the crowd thinned out, she moved closer to me, her tone sharp and mocking. "Jillian, I saw Alex come to talk to you after school that day." She leaned in, whispering in my ear, "Even if you like Alex Carter, so what? He's mine now." I didn't bother to react, not even sparing her a glance. "Do you know why I transferred to Northwood High in our senior year?" she continued, trying to draw my attention. "Because I saw you and Alex shopping for textbooks at a bookstore once. His eyes were always on you, smiling the entire time. I thought it was interesting. It annoyed me." She smirked, her expression full of satisfaction, as if she had won some unspoken game. "You're rich. You're beautiful. Surely you can't have it all. Life can't let you have a perfect love too, can it?" Her voice dripped with schadenfreude, her eyes gleaming with malice. I had always known Lila's family background was modest, but I hadn't realized the extent of her jealousy. That jealousy had twisted her, turning her into someone who found joy in others' pain. I finally asked the question that had been gnawing at me. "Do you actually like Alex Carter?" Lila Taylor smiled, her eyes brimming with smugness. "Of course not. It's just for fun. He has nothing left. Only your feelings for him. Haven't you noticed? Everything I do is modeled after you. And look, he fell for it. He's just that dumb, not realizing he likes you. And you're just as stupid." She was right. I had been too foolish. I gave my heart to the world, only to be left broken and scarred. What Lila didn't know was that I had recorded her words with the phone in my pocket. Without hesitation, I sent the recording to Alex Carter. I was curious about how he'd react. Youthful pride often outweighs love. And soon after, Alex and Lila had a falling out. Rumor had it that Alex pinned Lila against the wall, his hand around her throat, his eyes bloodshot as he yelled at her. The person he thought he liked was peeled back, layer by layer, like an onion, revealing a rotted core underneath. That realization must have hurt, just like how I had felt back then. With 30 days left until the college entrance exams, during a crucial mock test, Alex Carter suddenly disappeared. Every teacher was frantic, contacting his parents and searching everywhere. But there was no trace of him. Even as the 2-day exam ended, Alex never returned. Exhausted, I walked home, only to find a man dressed in black standing by my door. My nerves instantly tensed, and I gripped the self-defense alarm tightly in my hand. "Jillian." The voice was Alex Carter's, hoarse and trembling, tinged with despair. I almost didn't recognize him. He rushed forward and hugged me tightly, his whole body shaking uncontrollably. It was eerily similar to the Alex of my previous life. He muttered, "I had a dream. A long, long dream. It was so long it terrified me. I dreamed that we were together, and then we got married. But because of Lila, I left you on our wedding anniversary, abandoning you to face the world's cruelty alone." His voice was slow, like he was recounting a nightmare he could never wake from. "I dreamed you were attacked with acid. Your face melted away as you screamed in agony. My ashes lay shattered next to you, and everyone around just laughed at your misery. No one helped you. You were always so delicate, so afraid of pain. How much must it have hurt when the acid hit you?" His voice cracked as if he was on the verge of collapse. "I dreamed you were taken to the hospital, unable to accept your disfigurement. And one spring day, as your wounds itched, you jumped to your death." Tears streamed uncontrollably down his face, his red-rimmed eyes fixed on me, desperate, pleading. "That's not true, right? Tell me it's not true." I laughed coldly, swallowing the surge of bitterness and resentment that threatened to spill out. My silence was answer enough. Alex staggered back, disbelief etched across his face. Then, to my shock, he dropped to his knees before me, his proud figure bent as though it had been broken by an invisible force. Burying his face in his hands, he began to sob, tears trickling through his fingers as his shoulders shook. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry," he choked out. His words became disjointed, rambling like someone who had lost their sanity. "After I died, I became a spirit and saw Lila. She wasn't dead at all. She faked her death to escape from someone she offended. She was jealous of our marriage, so she sent me those texts, pretending she was going to kill herself. Alex's voice cracked, descending further into incoherence. He seemed entirely consumed by guilt and despair, his emotions unraveling in a chaotic mess. How could I have been so foolish? We were married for 5 years. So happy. We were even planning to have a child next year. Alex's face twisted, broken by pain. It's all my fault. I destroyed everything. He could no longer distinguish between past and present, sinking into a maddening spiral of despair. I felt nothing. Watching Alex in such a pitiful state was almost laughable. I left him there, consumed by his regret, and walked away without looking back. Alex and Lila broke up for good. Soon, the college entrance exams arrived. 3 years of hard work would be decided by a few sheets of paper. My pen moved relentlessly, marking a perfect conclusion to those years. Alex, on the other hand, performed poorly. His results barely qualified him for a second-tier university, turning him into a cautionary tale for teachers to warn future students. Lila's choice, as in my previous life, shocked everyone. She turned down college altogether and chose to pursue a solo career in the entertainment industry. And me, the one everyone least expected, became the school's dark horse, scoring high enough to qualify for a university. When my results came in, my parents were ecstatic, singing my praises and hosting a grand celebration. Relatives showered me with congratulations, their smiles genuine and full of pride. Meanwhile, Alex sent me message after message, each one cautious and tentative. He kept asking where I was planning to apply, whether I would choose a university. I could guess his intentions. He wanted to attend a school in the same city as me. When acceptance letters arrived, I was admitted to the top program at W University, my first choice, 2.000 kilometers away from where Alex would be. Life is too short and unpredictable. I wanted to explore and learn as much as possible. I thought that would be the end of it, that I could finally leave it all behind. But in my first month at college, I saw Alex standing beneath the dormitory building. He was worn out, his face full of fatigue from long-distance travel. "Jillian," he said, his voice trembling. "I'm sorry." His gaze locked onto me, filled with an endless plea. "I was so preoccupied with Lila because I felt guilty," he began. "I thought it was my fault. My one comment about her being beautiful and ambitious made her chase after fame. I never expected her to take her own life. That guilt consumed me. But now I know. Jillian, it's you I've always loved. I came back to make things right, to ask for your forgiveness." I looked at him, his broken expression reflecting the same despair I'd felt when I saw his lifeless body in my previous life. I curled my lips into a mocking smile and said, "I saw your messages. Alex, you told Lila you surrendered. You begged her not to die. You said you'd divorce me. All those years we were together, you were thinking about her every second of every day. We supported each other through everything. Yet on our wedding anniversary, you made me witness your death." My tone grew colder. "And you call that love?" Finally, I spat out the words, full of contempt. "Get out. I never want to see you again." Later, my roommates told me they had seen a man standing motionless outside the dorm all night, like a silent statue. I thought Alex would give up, but he didn't. Every month, he traveled 2.000 kilometers to see me, staying far enough away not to disturb me. He would leave a gift each time, sometimes roses, sometimes a colorful beaded bracelet, sometimes souvenirs from around the world. The love and tokens I had waited for in my previous life were finally arriving, but I didn't keep any of them. I threw every single one away. This version of me no longer needed them. On his 10th visit, as I watched Alex's desolate figure walking away, I finally called out to him. His eyes, colder than the night, lit up for a moment, but my words extinguished that hope entirely. "Stop coming. Every time I see you, I have nightmares." "What kind of nightmares?" he asked, his voice trembling. I didn't answer. It didn't need to be said. The color drained from his face, his eyes returning to a bottomless black. After a long pause, he simply replied, "Okay." True to his word, Alex never appeared again, but every year, without fail, he sent me a birthday message. "Happy birthday, Jillian Grant. The messages came without fail, year after year, until I turned 30. Even then, his words arrived right on time, like clockwork. On the day of my wedding at 30, Alex Carter, who had been battling depression, jumped from the rooftop of the hospital. A letter from an unknown sender was delivered to me. It read, "This life and the last. I've returned it all to you." Another autumn arrived, and a sycamore leaf drifted into my palm. I whispered softly, like the faintest breeze, "Goodbye. Forever." In an alternate epilogue, Lila Taylor and Alex Carter met their ends. After pulling a chair out from under a classmate, causing him to fall and fracture his tailbone, I was labeled unrepentant by the school. The teachers believed I had psychological issues, forcing me to undergo an evaluation at the hospital, where I was diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder, self-centered and lacking empathy. As I spat out my chewing gum, the image of the obedient, well-mannered girl I had carefully maintained at school shattered. Smiling wickedly, I taunted the doctors and teachers, my defiance sparking endless gossip. I couldn't stay in my original school any longer, so I transferred to Northwood High. Why Northwood? Because I had my sights set on Jillian Grant and Alex Carter. The first time I saw them at the bookstore, it was obvious they were worlds apart. Jillian, with her golden spoon upbringing, gazed at Alex with open affection, her eyes shining with the budding love of a young girl. Alex, in turn, only had eyes for her. Oblivious to the world around him, they were like conjoined twins, inseparable. Watching Jillian's radiant happiness sparked something in me, a mix of curiosity and disdain. Like so many others, I decided I couldn't let her life remain so perfect. But Jillian had changed. She was no longer the fragile, lovesick girl who used to wear her heart on her sleeve. She had cut her hair short, removed every trace of anything connected to Alex, and no longer dozed off in class. Instead, she poured every ounce of energy into studying, ignoring Alex entirely. Alex grew restless, perpetually irritable. Without Jillian's help, he was forced to take on extra tutoring jobs to make ends meet, though the pay was far less than what Jillian used to give him. Once, he complained to me, "Why can't she be more understanding?" He sighed and patted my hair, the same way he used to treat Jillian. "If only she were half as good as you." Tilting my head, I leaned into his hand like a compliant little kitten. But Jillian's cold gaze lingered, completely different from her once naive and willful demeanor. I went out of my way to provoke her, but she remained unmoved, responding calmly, "If you want him, take him." Jillian later forwarded our conversation to Alex. When he confronted me, his hands around my throat, he was filled with rage and disbelief. "You never cared about me, did you? Why did you lie to me?" My face flushed, and I struggled to breathe, but I still taunted him. "I'm not Jillian Grant. Why would I care about a bankrupt rich kid like you?" That moment, I saw my carefully crafted facade crumble in Alex's eyes. His image of me collapsed into ruins, leaving my true self exposed. He stared at me for what felt like an eternity, as if seeing me for the first time. Finally, he turned and left, muttering Jillian's name like a mantra. After the college entrance exams, I abandoned my education and entered the entertainment industry. With a malicious glee, I secretly kept tabs on Alex. He was a shell of his former self, utterly broken. He would clutch Jillian's photo, alternately laughing and crying, or pass out drunk on the street with a bottle in hand. Later, I saw him at the hospital. As a nurse passed by, she shook her head and whispered, "That young man. This is the third time this year he's been admitted for alcohol poisoning. He doesn't seem to want to live anymore." Wearing high heels and pretending to be his relative, I entered his hospital room. Standing over him, I looked down at his skeletal figure. He was barely recognizable, his mind clouded by delirium. Mistaking me for Jillian, he reached out a trembling hand. "Jillian," he murmured with a hint of longing in his voice, "you finally came to see me." I smirked, leaned down, and whispered to Alex Carter, "Someone who loved you as passionately as Jillian Grant doesn't love you anymore. She'll never come to see you again." His eyes widened in shock, and the light in them instantly extinguished, replaced by a dull, clouded emptiness. I raised an eyebrow and sighed. He was finished in this life. Straightening my coat, I turned and left. My career hit rock bottom. No matter how hard I tried, I couldn't secure the opportunities one was promised. Anxiety consumed me as I bit at my lips, restless and frustrated to the extreme. Every resource I painstakingly fought for was always snatched away at the last moment. No matter how much I racked my brain, I couldn't figure out who I had offended to deserve this. The entertainment industry moves at lightning speed, and no matter how much effort I put in, I could only land minor roles with 2 or 3 lines. This wasn't how things were supposed to be. After struggling for several years, an opportunity finally came, a role in a major IP adaptation, like a luxurious cake dropping from the sky. During the shoot, everyone treated me with exaggerated respect, flattered by their compliments. I began to feel smug and untouchable. When filming wrapped, my agent came to me, looking secretive. "The boss wants to see you," she said. I understood immediately. It was the usual unspoken deal. Dressing alluringly, I nonchalantly got into a business car. But to my shock, the person waiting inside was Alex Carter. He sat quietly, his bony fingers clasped together, wearing a suit that looked loose on his thin frame. His dark, bottomless eyes stared at me, and he curled his lips into a cold smile. "It's been a while, Alex." My ex had gone mad. He had me dragged to a secluded villa and chained to the wall with heavy iron restraints around my wrists and ankles. No matter how much I struggled, I couldn't break free. "You know this is illegal," I shouted, my voice trembling with fear. Backing away from him, I tried to retreat further into the corner of the room. Alex sat leisurely in a crimson velvet chair, watching me with a detached air. He seemed frail, his body visibly weak. As he laughed, blood spilled from his lips, but he merely wiped it away with a handkerchief. Unconcerned, he smiled at me, his expression soft but chilling. "Lila, if not for you, I would have died long ago. It was thoughts of you that kept me going. That made me fight to survive just to see you again." My confusion evaporated in an instant, replaced by rage. It all made sense now, why everything had gone so wrong for me over the years. Furious, I cursed at him. "You ruined yourself. You're the one who turned into a wreck of a man. Why are you blaming me?" But Alex didn't seem angry. Instead, he stood up, his skeletal hand reaching for my neck. The cold touch of his fingers made every hair on my body stand on end. With his lashes lowered, he spoke in a soft, almost tender voice. "Didn't you say you wanted to be my wife in your next life? Now, your wish has come true. You'll stay with me forever." I was kept in that villa, cut off from the world. Each day, I was given only scraps of bread to eat, leaving me weak and helpless. Every day, Alex would come to me with a pink diary, reading stories aloud. It didn't take long for me to realize he was recounting the childhood memories of himself and Jillian Grant, from their earliest days to high school and beyond. This diary must have been Jillian's. I thought, she must have discarded it, and Alex had taken it as a keepsake. He read everything, from their carefree days to the years of hardship. He talked about how Jillian never left his side, even when his family went bankrupt. "Do you know," Alex said one day, his voice soft yet filled with pain, "when my father's debtors couldn't find him, they tried to drag me away to sell me. Jillian risked getting beaten to call the police. She found me, her face swollen from being slapped. Even though she was so delicate, she didn't cry when those men hit her. But she trembled as she touched my bruises, crying because she was afraid I was in pain." Alex's voice grew gentler as he continued. "Jillian had never done housework in her life, but after being with me, she did everything, even the dirtiest chores. Her delicate hands became rough and calloused so quickly. She carried her bag every day, going door to beg for partnerships to help me. Once, she was so exhausted she fell asleep in a chair at the company, with nothing but a coat draped over her shoulders. I nudged Alex Carter awake, worried he might catch a cold. His eyes barely opened, but the first thing he said was, "Don't worry. Mr. Wong agreed to the partnership. Did you eat lunch properly?" His voice grew hoarser as he spoke, and eventually, he couldn't go on. I thought he was losing his mind again. I raised my eyes lazily and asked, "If you love her so much, why were you with me?" He tilted his head back, staring at the ceiling, his voice hollow. "I don't know. Maybe it was because of my insecurity. Maybe I couldn't handle the way Jillian looked at me, with so much kindness and pity, even after I regained everything. I couldn't shake that feeling of inferiority. He paused, his tone softening. I used to call her my little sister, then accuse her of being condescending. I never realized I liked her. I kept thinking about you instead. I was stupid. I failed her. I'm a bastard. Alex bent over, clutching his head, lost in his own torment. I couldn't stand this melodrama. You're right. You are a bastard. So why don't you just go die? Alex looked up at me, his eyes bloodshot and wild. Oh, I'll die, he said with an unsettling calmness. But you're coming with me. Alex used his power to turn my worst rival into a star. He forced me to watch as someone I despised went from obscurity to fame, her face lighting up the big screen. My teeth clenched in fury as I watched her rise. Leaning close, Alex whispered in my ear, "In your last life, you were just as dazzling." I didn't understand, but he added, "Too bad you'll never get what you want in this life." Each month, Alex disappeared for a day. When he returned, he would sit motionless for hours, lost in thought. The villa was filled with unsent gifts, accumulating steadily. I had lost track of how long I'd been confined there. Day and night blurred together, my existence reduced to that of an insect clinging to a leaf, gasping for air. Alex started drinking again. He stared at his phone, laughing and crying in turns. From the fragments of his words, I learned that Jillian Grant was getting married. They said her fiancé was a wonderful man, gentle, considerate, from a prominent family. Their wedding was to be held in a 6-star hotel, followed by a world tour for their honeymoon. Alex laughed bitterly. See? She left me and is doing so much better without me. Eventually, Alex ended up in the hospital. On Jillian's wedding day, he jumped to his death. With Alex gone, his people scrambled in chaos, and I was released before I could even process it. The sunlight burned my skin as I stepped outside. My muscles, weakened by disuse, struggled to support me. I could barely walk. Suddenly, I realized I had nothing left, but I still had my looks. Or so I thought. Walking down the street, I noticed people staring at me strangely. A young boy tugged at his mother's hand and pointed at me, saying, "Mommy, that lady is so ugly." Ugly? Me? I stumbled toward a glass building. The reflection staring back at me was horrifying. My hair was a tangled mess, my skin waxy and sallow. I was gaunt, my body reduced to skin and bones from long-term malnutrition and lack of care. Dark spots marred my complexion, and fine lines etched deep into the corners of my eyes. For a moment, I couldn't believe it. I was no longer the vibrant, ambitious young woman I had once been. I had spent so long yearning to escape, praying for Alex's death. But now he was gone, and so was everything else. Alex's words echoed in my mind, his voice low and sinister like a devil's whisper. "You've been missing for so long. To society, you're already dead. No one remembers you." I looked up and saw an advertisement of my rival playing on a mall's giant screen. Her bold red lips, radiant confidence, and poised demeanor were the picture of success, the person I had been in my past life. Memories of my former glory flooded back. In my previous life, I had been a true winner, basking in applause under the spotlight. Now, I was nothing. I should have been someone admired by all, living a life of comfort and ease even if I offended powerful people. My later years should have been filled with glory and endless luxury. But now, with all hope extinguished, I summoned the last of my strength and stepped into the rushing traffic. On Sycamore Avenue, an accident occurred. At 11:50 a.m., a woman in white stepped into traffic and collided with a black sedan, dying instantly. The details of the incident are pending further investigation by authorities.